circle back. You want to circle back a couple weeks ago, and then I'm going to.
And then you cue it in,
All right.
and then and just leave my mic open because I might talk over it.
Okay. Turn your mic on the, yeah. There you go. You good?
Yep, good.
Okay. All right, 10 seconds.
So both of these mics are defaulting.
There's a short.
More than that, yeah, there's a short somewhere.
Yeah.
Many months ago, there was a short, and these, I think it's just.
This is not America. Sha-la-la-la-la. Little piece of you, a little piece in me.
Hey, welcome back. It's Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Traynor. My co-host is Leland Faegre. And, there's been some news today, besides the usual chatter, each political party accusing the other of nefarious wrongdoings. And, usually they're both right. But the Nevada Legislature opened, and I just want to say that the press release that was issued was celebrating the fact that they're dominated by women now. It's like...
That's the big deal, huh?
Yeah, like Chris Farley would have said, well, whoop-de-doo.
Well, it's been 2 years, except for the special assembly arrangement, and then they had some votes to count in the interim.
Right.
That should have been probably job one, right?
Right.
But now there's more women in the legislature than men. As if anybody cares about that.
Right. Well, the people that are the majority in the legislature certainly do.
Well, whoever wrote the press release thought it was important.
Yeah, very important.
I'd like to circle back to a couple former shows that we were talking about. I think Jeff Zuckerberg,
and
then you refused to, or you didn't get the fact that we were talking about. I forget the subject matter actually, but he had announced that he had resigned from the show, from the network. And,
okay.
And you thought I was...
the president of CNN.
Jeff Zucker, and you thought I was referring to Zuckerberg.
Oh, see, I did it again. Yep.
So I wanted to circle back and reference that whole episode.
Circle back?
Yeah.
I'll circle back if there's more I can share with you. I'll circle back with you if there's more to convey. I'll have to just circle back with you. We can circle back. I'm happy to circle back with you. I can circle back. I will have to circle back on that one. That's an excellent question. Oh, such an important question.
I thought it was a good question.
We'll circle back with you. It's an interesting question, but we'll circle back. I'm happy to circle back, but I'll have to circle back with you on it. It's a good question, but we'll circle back with you on this today. We will certainly circle back with you more directly.
That Jenn Psaki, she's on top of it, isn't she?
Yeah, isn't she?
Just like.
But if you ask her about the color scheme in Air Force One, then it's,
She's
what
got
a
that.
Wonderful question. I'm
She's
so
got
glad
that.
you asked that.
Yeah. It's not like McElhaney.
No, she was
just right on
firebrand.
top of everything.
Yeah. And she knew what she was talking about.
Not Jenn Psaki.
Nope. Where is the coverage on Saturday Night Live? Remember when Sean Spicer started and they got the comedian, I forget her name now, to come in and mock him? That was all they did for a week, for a month really, is mock Sean Spicer.
And they weren't able to work Biden into their last Saturday night show.
No, nope.
So,
yep.
What good are they?
Not much. And their ratings show it, but even Fox is down.
Yeah.
And then
CNN has lost half of its audience.
Right. There's nothing to talk about for them now.
Right.
They can't criticize Biden.
Right.
They, so they are.
He's protected.
Oh yeah, he's certainly protected. Yep. So the media watchdogs will come down on them, and later on in the show we're going to have a little bit about a subject you really can't talk about. But in the meantime,
what's that?
Well, it's going to be our Jews in the News
segment.
Oh,
our Jews in the News segment. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So, but
we talk about it here.
Yeah, we talk about it here so far.
Yeah. We've got security out there.
Yeah. But, the biggest news of the week was not in politics, but it was the storming by the plebeians of the Bastille, owned by the Wall Street Bastille. And the all over obscure stock. I don't think we have any of it, any stores like this in Reno, at least. But who knows? I mean, I could have walked right by it because I'm not a gamer,
Yeah, I'd never heard of it, actually.
Right.
A brick and mortar store that
you
offers...
go in and buy games, or you rent games, and they have little knickknacks relating to games.
Yeah, I don't know whether you could purchase them. I guess you could. That was my understanding. But I guess maybe you could rent them.
Rent them out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So kind of like Blockbuster.
Like Blockbuster, yeah.
Right.
Very similar.
Only for games instead of videotapes, shows and stuff, movies. So anyway, it was down to about $4, this particular stock, because, with the pandemic, that cut foot traffic into the stores. And but then all of a sudden we found out that a bunch of other players that were gathering on a Reddit internet group called Wall Street Bets began talking up the stock. Buy this, buy this, buy this. And it actually started weeks or months ago. But so they had the stock. They were talking to buy this stock because they thought it was undervalued. And then when it got up to $40, a 10% rise there, they noticed that the big hedge funds had shorted it to $30. And
I hate these people.
I know.
You can't really interfere in the marketplace. You have to allow short selling. Mm-hmm. And as a former stockbroker, it really bothered the hell out of me. But, I mean, it's a legitimate part of the liquidity.
Sure.
And so you can't do anything about it. Although I understand some exchanges in the world preclude that option. You cannot short sell in those environments. I'm not sure which ones they are anymore, but once upon a time I was on top of that because it sort of intrigued me. Mm-hmm. Because I really hate the idea. I mean, this is a company that's probably going to go out of business, and then these guys who are sitting in very lofty positions of stature decide they're going to short sell this company and put it out of business today.
Right.
It really bothered the hell out of me that you could really do that. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that was the backdrop of how this thing was set up this past week, and it was quite an intriguing story.
Right. I mean, it dominated the news, and the reaction of the mainstream media, including many Republicans who were aghast at these...
That this kind of thing went on?
Yeah, that this kind of thing, that social media is doing this, and, and some of them... I don't know if you know Janice Rule, a newscaster on MSNBC, I think.
Do I?
Yeah, she's a former Wall Streeter herself, and she makes no bones about it. And she practically yelled at the Reddit people. She practically threatened them on the air. And then so many...
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now, back to the show.
Hey, welcome back. It's Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainer, and my co-host is Leland Faegre.
So anyway, did you like how I did that when I went and circled back to the 2 weeks ago, and then we included...
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah. But last week when I talked to you, you didn't know what the Robinhood app was, did you?
The app itself? No, not the app.
Well, it was started about 4 years ago. The CEO is Vlad Tenev, who's apparently Bulgarian. That's the name he has. We don't know that much more about him. But anyway, it's supposed to simplify investing, and it's used primarily by millennials and retired people like me.
They're novices.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you basic data. You know basic percentages and stuff. Yeah. And then every time you do something, even if it's a $20, buy or sell, you get little digital graffiti, and the message says, "Congratulations, you just bought blah 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 stock for $20." You know,
Yeah, appeals to
they make it
millennials.
like a little bit of a game. You know, So it's supposed to be very user friendly, and it's supposed to give the little guy a chance to compete with the big guys, which is why, hence the name Robin Hood. You know,
Yeah,
Rob from the Rich.
and I'm not opposed to it conceptually. And to address your issue of the application, I only use this if I'm broken down on the highway somewhere.
Okay.
I don't use phone
Well,
applications.
yeah, I use a pad, but you can do a desktop version.
Yeah.
But, So anything. What happened here is that the Wall Street bettors were crashing, boosting the price up and crashing through these hedge fund shorts. It reached the point where it went from $40, in the same day, up to like close to $400.
Around
$400. Yeah, and so all
It's a great
these,
story.
Yeah, all of these guys had to sell their stock. These shorts had to sell their stock, and
Well, they had to buy it back.
had to buy it back at
Yeah.
the high price. Right, exactly.
Right. So that's the part that is really fun.
Yeah, they were completely disparaged, these Wall Street bet people. And, I'm sorry, but I missed out on it. But, there's hundreds of sites where everybody's touting stocks these days. And, they have, followers and all this. So I didn't know about this one. But they were the sharp ones. And a lot of them were saying, we're doing this for revenge because of what happened in 2008. With the Wall Street crash and the bailout.
Right.
And their parents, their family lost a good deal of money.
Well, some of them were in diapers in 2008.
Yeah, but their parents.
I know.
Yeah. And, you see people on the street saying, I made $1 million in trading, and I'm putting it all on GameStop.
Yeah, on GameStop.
So people became millionaires, and the money they took was from robbing the rich and giving it to the poor. But
I saw him, by the way, the CEO on
Vlad?
CNBC that day.
Yeah, and he couldn't. They were asking him, "Did you have a liquidity problem?" And he kept saying, "No." But he wouldn't say what it was.
And if you read between his sentences, he was having a liquidity problem.
Yeah. But he got at least $1 billion directly. And
that was the following day.
A cynic would say a bribe.
Yeah.
Because then he stopped the ability of the Robinhood users to buy more shares. And so
that's where the plot thickens.
Right, exactly.
The idea that you can, at the stroke of a pen effectively, or a digital zero, liquefy a situation for those who brought it about in the first place.
Right. So this was exposed, and then later on it was also exposed that Robinhood was sharing data with one of these hedge funds.
That's the part that really stinks.
Yeah, isn't it?
That they're sharing that information, and you know what kind of information they're sharing.
It'll be used against them.
Absolutely. How many? How much do you see? Lots of orders? Are they positive orders? Are they sells? That's the kind of information that these big guys want.
Yeah.
So I mean, that information worked against these little people that would have gotten in on this. This really stinks.
Robinhood has become so popular that you can look up what the Robinhood people are doing, but they were getting the data in real time.
And aftermarket.
Yep.
For market.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this just stinks. Yeah. So, I mean, he's no hero to these people who made money on
No,
this
they're going to have to change the name from Robinhood to Sheriff of Nottingham.
Is that your own?
No, I think other people have said it. But
That's the writer in it. That's damn good.
So that was the big story of the week, and like I said, the way that it was handled, and then you had Ted Cruz Ocasio-Cortez said we have to look at this, and then Ted Cruz says, "I'm with you," and she said, "I'm not with you because you tried to kill me on January 6th."
Yeah. And if that's the case, she should have filed a police report.
And, she, when she also explained that she was intimidated by the Capitol policeman that took her and put her in some kind of a waiting area or closet, and she felt that he was intimidating her. And then during that interview, she disclosed, but didn't give any details, that she had been a victim of sexual abuse,
Well, there is a lot going on in that creature's head.
Yeah.
Because she is just not healthy. And you hear it every time she speaks.
Right.
To me, she sounds like a third grader.
Yeah, but she's very, very popular. But the thing about her revelation is that Tara Reid, remember Poke and Change? Yeah, that poor lady. She immediately got a story published in Russia Today about, all right, I'm so sad you had this problem. Why don't you talk about my problem?
Where was your help when I needed it?
Yeah, exactly. So this whole thing is... it's showing the fissures in the system, and we're going to talk more about that later when we're in the Jews in the News segment. But it was surprising to see. And then Elizabeth Warren, she sent a letter to the SEC basically asking the SEC to investigate the Reddit group.
You see why this thing had legs? This story had legs? Yeah. I mean, there's just so much to it, and everybody wants to get in on it,
I know. And I'd like to give a shout out to the Sharks. The Shark Show on CNBC, where the entrepreneurs come and ask them for a loan and in return for part of the business, and they came down heavily on the side of the Reddit people, such as Mark Cuban and the Irish guy, Kevin O'Leary. He's another shark that a couple of times spoke out and contradicted what they said. And then then Kramer, he had a regulator on that was trying to say that it was foreign money, a.k.a. Russia. And he shot him down. So, but like you said, the fissures are showing. And in the meantime, Nancy Pelosi had her own stock scandal.
Yeah.
Because it was revealed her billionaire military-industrial complex husband had bought
what a description.
About 80 call. This is the opposite of a short. It's a call option betting that Tesla is going to increase dramatically in price this year when Nancy is the chairman of the Energy and Commerce Committee, right? So
because those are environmentally friendly cars.
Yeah.
Until the power goes out.
And then nice little Janet Yellen, who was just confirmed a day later, it was revealed she received over $800,000 in speaking fees from hedge funds. And then,
Citadel, let's name it.
Citadel, right. And Press Secretary Psaki immediately, when it was talked about in a press meeting, immediately played the gender card and the identity card, reminding everybody Yeltsin was the first woman to be the head
female Treasury Secretary.
Yeah. And so that caused a new word on the internet, woke washed.
Never miss an opportunity to include identity politics in your dialogue. That should be the new Rama manual instruction.
Yes, right.
Never miss an opportunity to invoke identity politics.
Right. And, they're just revealing themselves to be magna cum laude from the Frankfurt School every time they open
I think that's giving them too much credit, actually.
Yeah, they probably don't know the intellectual art.
They probably won't. At least they don't speak the language.
Right.
I mean, they act on very intuitive instincts, perhaps, but they never converse in that context. And you make a good point. I mean, do they really understand what they're saying? I make the case that they don't. That they're just not that smart.
Yeah, they're
capable of taking in information and regurgitating it for their stupid base, but apart from that, they don't really know what they're saying. Most of them.
Well, you saw it with the way in the news cycle, they latch on to one word, and apparently the DNC or somebody tells them you got to repeat this word,
and everybody uses
all the politicians and all the
every
broadcasts.
source.
Yeah,
the propaganda media, the Pauls, the unelected that speak on the subjects of their bureaucracies. They all use the same language. It's really interesting, isn't it? And I think it's boring to the. If you were trying to draw attention. The attention of the American people, and you heard everybody using the same language, wouldn't that just put you off?
You would think it was something like Soviet communism or something that came.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now, back to the show.
All right. And welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. And, of course, with this segment, we have to give the mandatory ADL disclaimer.
We do?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll be in big trouble.
Okay.
So we know that Israel is America's greatest ally.
We do. And
they're the only democracy in the Middle East, and they don't throw gay people off of roofs.
Not Lebanon? Lebanon's not part of it?
No, Lebanon is... Well, it's
up and coming.
It's a democracy, but we don't want to talk about that.
Oh, okay.
At least the Republicans don't. Anyway, and whenever we have to admit that whenever we observe Jews behaving badly, every time, everywhere, it's always our fault. Right. So when you look at the news that we've been talking about the Wall Street shorts, aside from Kevin Griffin, who is a WASP and a big Republican donor, he's affiliated with the Citadel, LLC, and possibly Vlad Tenev. He's not big enough, so Wikipedia has his, family history.
They don't?
And not that no. So
okay.
The amazing thing about the story is that everybody involved with the hedge funds is Jewish.
Huh.
Isn't that amazing?
Isn't that something?
So, for example, you have Gabe Plotkin, head of Melvin Capital Hedge Fund, one of the main shorters of GameStop. Steve Cohen, head of Point72, another big hedge fund that was shorting GameStop. Andrew Left, head of Citron Research, another hedge fund, and they're major short sellers. In fact, that's mostly what they do is try to short companies out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some people specialize in it.
Right. Dan Sondheim, head of Citadel, LLC, along with Griffin. And then we have Ben Bernanke. His name came up again.
What are the odds that they're all Jewish?
I know. Senior advisor of Citadel.
Astronomical.
Gary Gensler, chairman of the Security and Exchange Commission. Janet Yellen, U.S. Secretary of the Treasury. All of the names involved are all Jewish in the financial sector. And, is it a mere coincidence? That's what we're constantly told. To pay no attention to the man behind the screen.
Pay no attention.
It's simply a coincidence. So we know that the Jewish people are very hardworking and they're very intelligent. The Ashkenazi Jews, as we discussed before,
Smart
collectively
people.
have the average highest intelligence. They're collective intelligence is about a standard deviation higher than the Chinese and Japanese, and the about 2 standard deviations higher than Caucasian. But that doesn't mean that every Jewish person is more intelligent than every white person or anything like that.
Oh, good.
They make up, Jewish people in America make up only 2% of the population. White Caucasians currently make up about 60%. Although, as President Biden will tell you, that's not going to last for long. We're going to be overtaken.
They're on a mission.
Especially since we're committing Caucasian suicide.
Yeah, exactly.
But but everywhere you look, in banking, the news, the media, entertainment, the corporate world, academia, and of course the government, you see that Jews control most of the powerful positions. Certainly far more than their share of the population. So even though the Ashkenazi Jews are very intelligent, they should not control so much. Why? It's because to their small demographic footprint.
So you're saying it's disproportionate?
Disproportionate, exactly. So what is the cause then? If they're only 2% of the population, but they control the commanding heights of our society and Western Europe, thankfully they haven't reached the Orient yet, but I'm sure they're working on it. But, what is it? And so academics that have studied the issue have said it has to be their highly developed ethnic networking. You can call it what you like. If you don't like ethnic networking, you can call it nepotism or endogamy. But whatever you want to call it, basically, the rule is that Jews look out for Jews. Jews cover up for other Jews when they're caught in bad behavior. In fact, if you're not a Jew that contributes to the Unz Review, like Ron Unz and Gilad Atzmon and Israel Shamir, if you're not one of those non-Zionist Jews, you're basically covering up for the other Jews. No matter what a clean and honest life you live, if you're not speaking out, I mean, that's something. And then, which is something that the American people don't want to hear, and the establishment certainly doesn't want to hear it. So, whenever we observe the Jews behaving badly, then that's part of the propaganda. It's all due to the Holocaust. It's like the slavery card. No matter what the Jews do that's bad, or no matter what they do to the culture, or however they act, it's all our fault.
It's our fault.
Yep. Because of the Holocaust and because of all the oppression that they've suffered.
If you see me acting kind of down on any given day, that's the reason.
Yeah, okay.
I'm always...
You're really ashamed for what you've done to the Jews? Yeah. And the blacks, of course. We have to give them part of our equity in order to make them whole again.
That's right. Even though I wasn't around in those days.
No. So, and even though actually the Jews were very much involved with the Christians and the Muslims in the and the African princes in the slave trade. Yeah, they got along pretty well. They had their own ways of doing it. But anyway, we can't go into that now. But
we can't?
I don't think so. But,
For another show?
It's for another show.
Okay.
The Jewish involvement in the slave trade. That could be another Jews in the news.
That'd be a hell of a segment.
Yeah, but this is, in fact, in the news. And they are in the news. But nobody is mentioning it. You can call them liberals. You can call them wealthy. You can, but you cannot say that they are Jewish wealthy people or Jewish liberals.
I see.
That's forbidden.
I see.
So
Jewish as an adjective.
Right.
I see. Okay.
You can't say it, or to say the Jews. That's verboten too, of course. And, why am I harping on this? Because they control the commanding heights of America and Europe.
With 2% of the population.
With 2% of the population.
Yeah. It is astronomical odds.
Yeah, it is astronomical odds. I'll tell you that. I mean, if for example, the average IQ, they usually say the Caucasian IQ is 100, the average, and then the
mine's
Asians,
much higher
and
than
then you
that.
go up standard deviation. They use different numbers, but say the Asians then are 105, and the Jews are 110. But there's an awful lot of Caucasians that have higher IQs.
I'm one of them.
Yeah, I am too. I was tested in high school at 140. I probably smoked a lot of pot and lost a lot of that. But
I got you beat.
yeah, okay. And I believe it.
Yeah.
You know, because
Well, I never necessarily believed what they were telling me, even in the fourth grade, which is when they did that sampling on me.
right,
But, that's what they said.
right, yep. And I remember the psychologist that had talked to me he had two pipes, and he kept puffing on one and putting it down and puffing on the other one. And I said, "This is crazier than I am."
Yeah. Funny enough, you have a recollection of who that person was. I don't remember the person that interviewed me, but but there was somebody.
But again, out of sheer numbers, you've got an awful lot of brilliant people. And so what is going on? Well, for example, if you're a young, white, rural American and you want to get into Harvard or one of the Ivy League schools, like they used to say in New York, forget about it.
Well, you could have it banished even if you get a degree now. You get a degree. I mean, they've decided now they don't want anybody associated with the Trump administration to have that on their resume.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what I'm saying is there's outright discrimination on the elite track. You look at all the people in government, what is their track? Well, most of them went to become Rhodes Scholars, like Buttigieg, and nearly all of them, if not all of them, went to Ivy League schools. Look at the Supreme Court. The only person that didn't go to an Ivy League school is Amy Coney Barrett.
But even if they open up the doors widely for you, or you squeak narrowly into those institutions, they may take it back later.
How? What do you mean by that?
Your degree.
Oh, they take your. Oh, you mean if you're a Trumpist?
We've had this discussion on the show before. I mean.
Oh yeah, they're taking back degrees of conservatives.
I could have lied my way through college and gotten a degree, I suppose, but I knew they were going to smoke me out at some point and take it away. And sure enough, it's happening as we speak.
Right. So, that's how it works, folks. Whether you knew it before or not, and you can't talk about it. Everybody knows it, but nobody can talk about it.
And all of this buzz about kids not being schooled now, that they have to stay home and all that, they're better off.
They're better off, sure.
If you think you need that institution, that brick and mortar school to learn with, you're fooling yourself.
That's one of the good things about the lockdown.
I got a great education outside of that institution. That's why I'm doing the show.
Okay.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back. It's Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Traynor, and my co-host is Leland Faegre.
I think that was Craig, our former engineer. He says, go back. I was thinking circle back.
Circle back. We always must circle back. When Donald Trump left Washington, I saw a story that just tells you what websites I'm on. But I saw a story that said
your
that
IQ.
He was the last white man in America.
Yeah.
And the Putin, Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, showed up by Zoom call to the Davos group. You know who they are, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're part of the problem that we just talked about.
You mean Vladimir Putin, Trump's mentor?
Yeah. No, his actually Trump is his, what they call it, his asset?
Yeah,
or
the Russian asset.
Yeah, he's a Russian asset since the 80s.
And they're still effectively saying this to their viewing audiences. Not that they have much.
Not that they have much of an audience left, but any chance they get. like I said, some people were claiming the Reddit group was financed by the Russians. But anyway, he gave them a speech that some commentators are comparing to the speech he gave in Munich back in 2007 when he first started talking about sovereignty of nations and how the U.S. is not a no longer an empire that Russia has to obey, like they did under Yeltsin.
I'm glad he got that in to Davos, because that's a very important part of future negotiation, I think, with that country and with all the others. But you see, they're all globalists at Davos.
I know.
All of them.
But at least 80 signed up to a private conference with him after his public speech.
Boy, I would have been in there.
Yeah, I'd like to have been in that.
But, Trump is persona non grata now at Davos.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure he is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably...
Persona non grata in his own house.
Some are trying to kick him out of Mar-a-Lago.
Mar-a-Lago, yeah.
But anyway, Putin gave a speech, again, a nationalist speech, talking of his concern about the West and how they've allowed these private internet companies to become more powerful than they are and to dictate policy to them. And
so there goes America first.
Right. It should be Americans first, actually, the more I think about it, because it's really not America. It's the American people that should benefit from
not
their
the
government.
system, but those who comprise the system.
Right, right. So he spoke about the declining values in the West. He spoke up for freedom of speech, and people slander Russia and say they don't have freedom of speech, and sometimes they block things on the internet. But so do we. If you just look at Backpage. And
there's actually a proposal now to have a czar of control.
Yeah, that's what the New York Times wants. A reality czar.
Yeah, there's an op-ed today, a reality czar.
Isn't it funny how whenever they want to give
Stalin had one of those.
Total control over some aspect of our lives in the federal government, they say appoint the czar to do it.
They love that word.
I know.
It sounds so authoritarian.
So anyway. The Russian gadfly, and I'm not going to call him an opposition leader because that's what he is. He's a gadfly. He decided to go back to Russia, where he was sentenced to 2.5 years for breaking his probation by flying to Munich, to Minsk in Belarus, flying to Minsk to join the color revolution against Lukashenko.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so... and also, probably for this whole thing, which, Germany has still not sent the medical reports to Russia, or how they determined that it was Novichok that poisoned him. But Britain never sent the actual reports about the Skripal case either.
I think it's a ruse. I think he's us.
Yeah.
I think he's an agent
I think he's the CIA asset, if anybody is.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So Merkel is still going ahead with Nord Stream 2. I'm kind of surprised it isn't finished by now. But
I thought they were 2 weeks away.
Yeah, I thought it was 2 weeks away. That's what Russia Today said around Christmas time. So, but anyway, she is going forward with it. And so, the thing is that Alexei Navalny is being exposed for what he is, which is, not a serious threat to Vladimir Putin. Now, I'm not going to say the Russian police weren't too heavy-handed in arresting his supporters. I think they arrested about 1,000 supporters.
It's the old algorithm. He's just a person that can be controlled. It's controlled opposition. As simple as that. It's not hard to understand, but the average person on the street, they don't understand these dynamics particularly well. So.
And, the news media never tells you that Navalny was convicted of fraud.
Right.
For,
how much was that? Was he convicted of? 400,000?
400,000 American, I think 30 million rubles. Yeah. So, and it was, one of the companies was a French cosmetic company. I can't think of the name offhand. I don't know who, but there were actually 2 companies involved. So, he was on probation. Now, I've been to Russia, and a couple of years ago was last time, but anybody can do a demonstration by themselves, and you go to Red Square and you see people. They have their posters and whatever, and they'll stop and talk to you about their cause. But if you're going to have 2 or more people, you have to get a permit. And Navalny is notorious for either not getting a permit or disobeying the permit. In other words, I remember one time he usually he draws about 5,000 people in a city of 11 million to his demonstrations.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty damn good.
Yeah, maybe. But
Biden should have been
he once ran for mayor of Moscow.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and Moscow and St. Petersburg are the centers of neoliberalism in Russia. Moscow has had a neoliberal mayor. I don't know if they still do, but anyway. So Navalny is. I lost my train of thoughts, but
he's in jail.
He's in jail. Yeah, he's sitting there.
That's my train of thought.
Yeah. But the way that the Western media blows him up is. It really shows how ignorant they are, and also what their intentions are to hide these truths from the American people.
Yeah, that's deliberate.
Yeah, I mean the largest political power in the last election in Russia was the Communist Party of Russia, and they tried to go. The original communist leader from the 80s, he was no longer there. They had sort of a Whole Foods entrepreneur type guy.
Yeah.
He was obviously selling food, organic food, to a niche market of upper middle class Muscovites, and he ran a strange.
So he overcharged them.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's what Whole Foods does here.
Yeah, Whole Foods. Yeah, but I mean that's the Communist Party now. It's more like trying to be more modern in some ways, and then the other party is run by a guy named Zinoviev since the 80s, and it's a mixed bag. He's generally to the right of Putin. He's more nationalistic. He would probably have wanted to invade the Ukraine in 2014 and just force them to stop what they were doing in some way. I mean, he's kind of short like that. But it's Navalny is just simply not a threat to Vladimir Putin's power. Although I must say that there are a lot of young people.
But they would like us to think.
Yeah, they would like us to think.
That he is a threat.
Now, there are a lot of young people in Russia that have grown up with nobody except Putin in charge of the government.
Exactly.
And so they're, like all young people, they're probably rebelling somewhat. And that may be a factor in the demonstrations that happened across Russia. None of them were big enough to really affect the political landscape. But, Russia's, like, for example, marijuana is illegal in Russia. I understand you have to go on the deep web, and then somebody has to mail the marijuana to a drop location, and you go pick it up.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And then if you are arrested, if somebody intercepts it and you are arrested, normally you're not going to face jail time, but you're going to face a bribe. You're going to have to bribe your way out of it. Yeah, exactly.
Like Mexico.
Yeah, like Mexico. So, and a lot of young people are upset about that. Some of them don't like mandatory conscription, although it's been reduced from 2 years to 1 year. And, you can't blame young people. Hopefully, I'm hoping that Putin will find somebody that will be a successor in 2024, just because I'm in favor of term limits. But it's hard to imagine somebody that has done as good a job as he has.
Mm-hmm.
I think history, if it's not written by the people we talked about in the last segment.
And every other show.
I think history would have to recognize him as the greatest statesman of the first 25 years of the 21st century.
Yeah, but they're not going to do that. That's not going to happen.
No.
Jesus will come back first.
So, anyway, I don't want to be...
Negative?
negative about what's going on, but
it is kind of disillusion.
Yes.
That we can't have a world that accurately reflects what's going on, what is true, and that historians are hired to authorize a history, an epic of human history, inaccurately,
right,
for future generations.
Mm-hmm. Most historians are court historians, you know, but you and I, we were drawn to the contrarians.
Yeah, exactly,
because it didn't make sense.
No, it didn't make sense. How could it possibly be that way? But you have to have an IQ. We were talking about IQs earlier in the show, if you're just joining us. But, I mean, how could you have an IQ above a plant and not understand that? I just don't understand how that could be missed.
Well, most Americans want to go back to brunch, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, Matt Gaetz says we have the votes to remove anti-Trumper Liz Cheney from House leadership.
Oh, wow.
That's good news.
Yeah.
That's a doozy. And then also
the pitchforks are out for Liz.
And John Kerry is defending his taking his gas-guzzling private jet to accept a climate award in Iceland by saying, the only choice for someone like me.